Craving your next action-packed adventure? Audible delivers thrills of every kind on your command, like Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir, where a lone astronaut must save humanity from extinction, narrated with stunning intensity by Ray Porter. From electrifying suspense and daring quest to spine-tingling horror and romance in far-off realms, unleash your adventurous side with gripping titles that'll keep you guessing. Discover exclusive Audible originals, hotly anticipated new releases, and must-listen bestsellers that hook you from the first minute. Because Audible knows there's no greater thrill than the one that speaks to you. Discover what lies beyond the edge of your seat. Start your free 30-day trial at audible.com/WonderyUS. That's audible.com/WonderyUS.
This is the Weekly Scramble, a place where we chat about life over a cold one or two. It's time to belly up to the pod with Mike Fratelloni and your host, Chris Reavers.
That's right. It's time for the Weekly Scramble podcast. My name is Chris Reavers. With me, as always, his name is Mike Fratelloni. Hello, Michael.
How you doing, Reavers?
I'm doing great. I love when you get so excited about a specific topic.
Oh, it was so great.
But you came running in here wanting to show me this video and everything else. And I got to be honest. I remember watching these videos and the events of the Spelling Bee as a kid, right? So
Sure.
I remember going through all of that. In fact, I don't know if you know this about me.
Oh, were you a good speller?
I was a really good speller at Jefferson Elementary School in Faribault, Minnesota. Okay. And to the point where not only did I win it in my class, so, you know, our elementary school had 4 classes for each grade, right? And so I won it in my class.
Okay.
And then I won it I think I was in the top 3 of my grade, which meant we got to go to the all-city spelling bee. Okay, which is super cool.
It's a big deal.
And I remember I was super nervous because I'm in elementary school, right? At Jefferson Elementary.
Sure.
And we got to go to the high school.
Oh, no. Wow.
And you're thinking, oh, this is big time.
This is big time.
This is big time. And I remember being at the giant gymnasium, and we were sitting there, and we were doing the spelling bee. I think I was like 7th or 8th in line, made it a couple rounds. Like, whew, I'm going to make it. I'm going to be the city's representative of the city of Faribault, and I'm going to represent whatever, our district or whatever the hell it was at the next step. And do you want to know the word that I failed on?
It's got to be something simple that you totally know, but what was it?
I get up there. And they say, because it was kind of cool, because they gave us the little placard that had your last name on it. So they'd say, Mr. Reavers, spell the word radio.
Oh, you're kidding me.
And one of my really good friends, Nick Voigt, he was sitting in the front row. He was wearing his Raiders sweatshirt.
Sure.
And I said, radio. R-A-I.
That was it.
And I paused.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, that's not right. It's R-A-D-I-O.
You were done at that point.
I said R-A-I.
Yeah.
And I was like,
oh.
No.
I just felt chills when you did it.
And think of that. That became my profession.
Yeah.
I spelt the freaking word radio wrong.
That's too funny.
So I looked at he had a sweatshirt of the Raiders on. I went R-A-I-D-O. No, that's Rado. I went, oh. And it was,
I'm proud of you because I had a memory of spelling when I was a kid too.
Sure.
So we had spelling tests, and this teacher would say, you can't go outside for recess until you've corrected the errors in your spelling.
Sure.
And I don't remember anything from school, Reavers. And when I say I remember nothing, I really remember nothing. But I remember this vividly. Every one of my friends was out on the playground playing, and I had the word automobile that I could not get right.
And you're a car guy.
And I'm a car guy, but I knew that automobile started with an O because it was automobile, O-T-T-O. And I was like looking at the teacher saying, I was lying, like, I just looked it up in the dictionary. This is right. Like, what is wrong? And she kept pushing it back saying, nope, it's still not right. I was having a nervous breakdown because you can only go up to the teacher with the same word a handful of times. And say, like, I ran out of things like I'm stumped, but I probably missed 4 to 7 minutes of recess but everyone in the room was gone. Even like Slow Bobby. I mean, everyone was gone. And I mean, I'm making that up. I don't think there was a Slow Bobby. But everyone was gone. Just Dip Crap Fratellone. He was stuck there thinking, automobile. And then when she finally said, Mike, automobile starts with an A, I thought, who made this language? Who was dumb enough to start the word automobile with an A?
I love the fact that you were in a point of negotiation with the teacher. About, I think
choice.
this is wrong.
Yeah,
I pretty much think this is wrong.
I even looked at her and I think I even said, maybe you don't know how to spell it. Maybe you're wrong about this. So yeah, that was, and I think I was pretty young, but I watched the 2025 Scripps National Spelling Bee the other night.
Yep.
It was last Thursday night, the 29th, and Reavers, I'm not going to lie, that was the most exciting TV, I'm going to call it a sport, that was the most competition sport thing I've seen that sent chills through me. It was so exciting. The ending was unbelievable. These kids, they have to be 14 or less, 8th grade or less, and they were unstinking believable. Okay. I was so proud of our country. I was so proud of these kids. And I want to tell you a little story about this last kid.
Please.
The kid who won, right? And then I'm going to ask you to see if you can spell the word. Okay?
Oh, boy.
I know. But so
now remind me, I don't want to get you off track, but remind me, do they get, I know the setup, they've got the panel of the presentation, whatever that's presenting the word. Do they get writing utensils?
They do not.
So that they don't get any help?
No, many kids pretend to write it on their arm with their fingers so they can kind of visualize it. Okay. Right? So they kind of stand there and or they write it into the air, try to write it.
But they're at the podium and they have they have nothing. Just their bare hands and nothing. Okay, got it.
So this kid, so they keep going through rounds and you get through rounds. And what happens is if everyone gets the round wrong, then you get to come back up. Right? So they like if there's 4 kids left and everybody gets the word wrong, they go to the next round. Everybody comes back in, even if you were dropped out.
Gotcha.
So what happens is they were down to 3 kids. And 2 of the kids, stud kids, one's in 5th grade, which is the kid's just going to win sometime because he's younger than everybody, right? He's 3 years younger than the guy who won. The first 2 kids missed the words, right? And it goes to a kid who was last year's runner-up. Okay. And this kid is like freakishly fast and so on. So he gets this word.
He's the Anthony Edwards, the coming up superstar.
He is a stud.
Gotcha. Okay.
There's little girls watching him thinking, that's my man.
I gotta get me some of that.
Exactly. So they say the word, and I think he believes he knows it, and he makes a screw up. He says K-O, and he starts to spell it, and he was like thinking it out in his head, but you can't practice the spelling.
No, once you start, you're committed to the bit.
And it was a C-O word, not a K-O word. Oh. So if he would have just slowed down, because everybody took about a minute, they'd say, what's the country of origin? Can you repeat the word? Alternate pronunciations, and they'd go through what's the origin? This kid was so bright, they would give him a word, and he's like, is that referring to the nucleus degrading under radiation? Yes. He knew all the definitions of the word. It wasn't just that he knew the word. But
it's that he knew every single aspect surrounding the particular word.
He knew that it was part Germanic, part Latin. all this stuff.
Gotcha.
So he fails to, so all 3 of them come back, and he walks back to the other kids and says, watch me. Like, I know I screwed that up. I will never be able to live this down if I just screwed up a word that I knew, but I screwed up the process. Sure. So he sits back down. The other 2 kids fail again, right? He gets a chance at the word. And I'm going to give you the word. And so you tell me if you can do this one. You ready?
Yep.
Éclaircissement.
Would you like me to...
Could you repeat the word, please?
Éclaircissement.
So I'm not allowed to repeat the word.
You can repeat it. You can say it, and you can even ask me to like what is it, a noun or is it?
Can you give me the basis of the word? Is it a noun? Is it a verb?
It's a noun.
It's a noun.
Everything's coming up in French.
Can you repeat the word, please?
Éclaircissement.
Country of origin, please.
I think it's French.
Okay.
That is so funny. I don't even know.
Can you repeat the word one more time?
Okay, you ready?
Éclaircissement.
Okay. All right. Let me at least spell it out.
Okay.
Don't buzzer me when I hit the wrong word. I'm going to really try to spell this word. Are you ready?
Go for it.
Can I get the word one more time?
Éclaircissement.
Éclaircissement. ICLESSISEMORE.
Damn it. Not a bad guess. it's saying it in French, and I think it should be saying it in an English version of it, right? Because it's doing it in French.
Sure.
It's the spelling's the same because it's a French word, but I can't get the computer to say it with an English accent.
I'm actually kind of glad you played it with the French accent because it sounds cool.
Here is this boy winning. So I'm going to play it. It's about a minute 35.
So this kid's 13 and okay.
13 or 14 and a complete and utter stud. His name is Faizan Zaki.
Okay.
I mean, this kid's going places.
Gotcha.
It made me believe that America's not a turd pile.
Okay.
When you see these kids.
It gave you a sense of hope.
Oh, my God, Reavers. It really did. So you ready?
Yep.
Let me know if the sound is good here.
You look at me, but you can say it too. So.
Okay.
Hello, Dr. Bailey.
Hi, Faizan. So if you spell this next word correctly, we will declare you the champion of the historic 100th year of the Scripps National Spelling Bee. Now, let's all of us take a deep breath. And
That did not help at all.
The kid said that did not help at all. Taking a deep breath.
All right.
Well,
that's funny.
A certain pacing would help to follow.
Yeah.
Okay. Your word is éclaircissement.
Éclaircissement. ECLAIRCISSEMENT. Éclaircissement.
That is correct.
Wow.
It was so cool. You could just see him because he knew the word. He 100% knew
Let me
the
guess.
word.
The eyes light up.
He was doing something with his hand, like spelling each letter because he wanted to get it right. Falls directly to the ground. This is the part I love too, and I don't know if it will get it, but the family starts coming up. The guy starts interviewing me. They might not get to the point where the family comes up.
Sure.
But the family comes up, and he's Indian, right? The kid's Indian, and his family's Indian. And his dad, I think it's his dad, looks like every crap-kicking Minnesotan I've ever seen in Indian form.
Okay.
He's got a Boston Bruins baseball cap on backwards.
Okay, I already hate him.
He walks up. He walks right behind everybody. He's not looking at the camera. He's just strolling around and back with his hands in his pocket and his Boston Bruins baseball cap on backwards.
When you're saying in the background, not behind the kid, but behind behind
the kid. Behind the kid. Like they bring the whole family up on stage, right? And his mother's there, and he has like a coaching team of guys that help him learn the sport, right? Of competitive spelling. And it's got to be the dad because it's an adult male guy, right? Indian guy with his Boston Bruins baseball cap on backwards. Like, no big deal. I expected my son to do this. It was the equivalent of his son winning the Stanley Cup and the dad saying, I expected you to win the Stanley Cup. So congratulations, right? Oh. And I bet you anything, they wanted to kill him because the word that he could have won on before, he knew, but he blew protocol.
He blundered.
He blundered. Okay. And then thank God he redeemed himself. But if you have not seen this, go back. It was on a couple of stations I've never heard of. I think one was called like Bounce XL was the station, which I think is not a real station, or Ion station. I think Ion's someone.
A real, okay,
but
I've heard of Ion.
This was just me happenstancing into this. The most fun I've had watching something on TV my wife and I, we had gone out for a couple of drinks before this.
I was just going to ask. So this was the romantic getaway. Let's go out. Let's have a little dinner. Let's have a few drinks.
We had a Haggis pizza, had a couple of Coors Lights, right? And we were back, and we were both standing up watching this because it was so stressful. And my wife had a favorite, this little Indian girl, beautiful little girl who was just like, just the smartest. It was like AI. She was like the smartest Google. I'm like, oh my gosh, funny. I can't believe it. It was so much fun. If you haven't had a chance to watch it, it was May 29th. Go look it up on YouTube. It is totally great. And I want to go next year.
I can't, it's funny. That's exactly where I was going. I'm sitting here thinking, I love you two so much that the fact that this became incorporated into date night is just, it absolutely is what defines you, Mike.
It was so much fun. It's a shame that tickets for this aren't $9,000, yet a Timberwolves game they are.
Sure.
Right? And I guess Timberwolves game.
But that's got to be just, you're sitting there listening to in person. Yes. Watching it on TV is different because you're in your home, you got the fireplace going or whatever, right? And you're having a cocktail. Totally, I get it, totally. But to sit there in person for hours and watch these nerds spell.
These beautiful, smart children.
Okay,
they're
fine.
the future of our success.
Okay.
They did this one little vignette on this girl.
Sure.
For the last 7 months, how many hours a day do you think she's practicing spelling?
Oh, God.
Just imagine, for the last 7 months, with a tutor, the last 7 months, how many hours a day?
Oh, this is going to make me sad, isn't it?
11 hours a day.
A day?
11 hours a day to be
Does
that
she
good.
not go to school?
She does, but I think school's pretty simple for her in 5th grade in Plano, Texas, or wherever she's from, right?
Wow.
And then they were spending 11 hours a day studying for 7 months.
Are all of these kids U.S. citizens?
Yep.
Okay, so
Yep.
they all are.
That's the problem with this is because the rest of the world doesn't speak English, is I think this is how we could fight wars, right? You say China, get your best. The problem is Chinese have like 600 symbols, and they'd have to write it like that's not a word. China,
Right.
that doesn't. You just
the
Peking
language
chicken.
The language barrier would be problematic to try to compete globally with something like this.
So if we can't use spelling bees, we should do breakdancing wars, right? Get their best breakdancers and just get our best breakdancers.
Oh my God!
I don't know. I'm just thinking.
No.
I mean, I was so damn proud. I can't tell you how proud. I want to send these kids like a gift card from Fratelloni's and say, "Hey, congratulations." We should get them. You know what we should do? We should get him on, and he should no. Since Garage Logic is a bigger show than ours, newsflash, just in case you didn't know this, we should get this kid on GL, and he should quiz you guys on a couple of words because he is such a stud. He is so cool. I'm so proud of him, and that would be so much fun.
Not one of us would pass one test.
I think Joe is a good speller.
Sure.
Good enough, right?
Yeah, he is the wordsmith of the show, no
he
doubt.
could go down. He could say, when I started studying when I was 7, I was working on these words.
Oh my God.
My wife was really good at it, and I said, thank God they didn't ask words like necessary, because I'm like, I ain't getting it. Or entrepreneur. I'm like, crap, I don't know that one either.
Me, radio.
Right. Oh, that was such a fun time, Reavers. You
I
missed
bet it is. Let's talk about our friends at North American Banking Company. One simple philosophy at North American Banking Company, and that's this. It's banking done differently. And you get that feeling anytime you walk into any one of their 6 Twin Cities locations, whether it's Roseville, 50th in France, Hastings, Woodbury, Shoreview, and Maple Grove. They offer all of the services as the other big national banks, whether you're looking to buy a home, maybe finance a new home renovation project, or get that new car that you've been thinking about. They will be able to help you out. They also offer all of the same online and mobile banking options as the other banks, but the key difference is you're going to get the unparalleled service of a community bank. They are also locally owned and operated, and here's why that's important. That means loan decisions are made right here in the Twin Cities. They are not sent out of state. So this helps you business owners solve problems quickly and expand your business with confidence. They deal with numbers every single day, but you will never be one of them. So check them out online today. It's nabankco.com to learn more. Once again, it's banking done differently. North American Banking Company, member FDIC, is an equal housing lender. The Weekly Scramble will be right back. You introduced me to something a few minutes ago before we started recording the show today that I had simply never heard of before. But it's why I simply love our relationship, because you introduced me to so many of these other things that are going on that I have no idea about. And one of them you just told me about is called grief tech.
Yes, grief tech.
I've never heard of this before. So what is it?
Here's what happens, Reavers. When you don't sleep well, what you do is you have...
you start scrolling.
Weird moments, right? And I came up with this thing like, AI is changing the world, right?
Yep.
And I saw this little story, and I'll expand on it. It's going to help us transcend death with AI. And what the concept is if you have a loved one that's getting ready to pass away, and they have enough digital data on that loved one, you can now feed it into an AI platform called Grief Tech, and it will allow you to continue to communicate with that loved one after they pass.
What?
So back in 2022, a gentleman lost his mother, and his mother looked like a real fun person. She had social media, so you kind of knew what side political she was on. She also had photos of her riding on the back of Harleys. And the guy said, I miss my mom so much, I just want to talk to her a little bit more, right? There's video of her voice, and we have all this data that's digitized. And so he developed a program that said, I want you to take all of what you know about my mom, feed it into this AI model, and I want to still have conversations with my mother, right? And they think that potentially this could revolutionize grief, because although he lost his mother, he still feels like she lives on in perpetuity through this process. I really wanted to get your opinion to say, is that something anybody would want? Would you want to talk to your grandfather, for example?
Oh, I mean, I'd love it, but I guess, boy, I'm about to get dark. Are you ready? I think I understand why there would be an interest in this. I think I understand why there would be a market for this. I think I understand why a company would want to capitalize on that, because, the thing with me is I've always said everybody handles grief differently, right? Everybody handles loss differently. You are going to grieve one person one way, and you're going to grieve one person a completely different way. I get all of that. And again, every individual handles that grief completely different. I've given how many eulogies at funerals over the years. So I guess my point is, I get that personally, and maybe I'd feel differently, right? But if I were able to recreate in an AI format one of my grandfathers, let's just say, right, I would probably be cool with it once. I don't know that I would go back to that well another time. And and here's why. I think there's a soulless connection to that type of avenue. And I think that would be troubling to me. And I'm going to say this also. I have a 13 and a 10-year-old, as you're very well aware of. And I am so deathly afraid of the screen addiction right now. It's why my 10-year-old yells at me. I go, "You've been on that way too long. Give me that." And I'll just take it out of his hands. It's like, "Well, Dad, I was planning." No, I don't care. Go outside. Go do something. Go hang with your buddies. Go be dumb. Go be a dumb 10-year-old, right? I don't care. I don't want you on this damn screen all day.
Go stand on the top of my truck and try to shoot baskets.
100%.
Yep.
I would rather that you did that. I don't care if you break my windshield. Well, actually, I do. But I would rather that you did that than sit on the screen and melt your brain for an hour. I don't want you to do that, right? So that's the part, I guess, to me that, and again, I think we're raising a generation. I'm probably as guilty because I'm on my phone a lot as well. We are raising a generation that are so addicted to screens. I could 100% see this becoming a multi-billion-dollar industry.
100%. I envision, so my kids never really knew my grandparents.
Okay.
Right? They kind of died right when my grandparents died when my kids were really young.
Sure.
Right? Some of them, a couple of them died earlier. And it would be really nice to say, let's ask great-grandpa. Right, let's ask great-grandpa about my grandpa Sam had a restaurant on the east side of St. Paul called Napoli Cafe, right? Not Dunopoli, just Napoli Cafe. And I'd love to be driving down White Bear Avenue and say, "Hey, Grandpa, can you tell Addie about what your restaurant was like?" And he's like, "Oh, it was such a great time for the family. I opened it in 75." And he could just tell the story. And then he could say the interesting thing about AI is he doesn't have to die on the date that he died. He could say, now the area looks totally different. Now it's a coffee shop because the data is now there, even though he had never experienced it.
Interesting.
I really believe, again, I was up looking at this for 3 hours. I feel like I'm about 100% logical on this. Like, sure. I have the full ramifications in my brain. I'm joking, obviously. But I would love to be able to have a nice, benign conversation with my grandpa that passed away, or my grandma, or on both sides of my family, right? Or my best friend who passed away, right? And the more we digitize life, my girls, when in 100 years, however long they live, are going to have billions of terabytes of data on them. Their progeny will be able to say, "What did grandma do for prom back in 2025?" And my daughter's going to be able to say something to her great-great-granddaughters. "Oh, I went with Jimmy Fitzpatrick and we went to this thing and the bill was $11.50." And, all of that stuff. I find it so, I think there's a point where everyone would understand that person's not real anymore. That is just a simile of who the person was, a facsimile of who the person was. And then we're going to have a crossover point where the world starts to believe that person never died. Where the person who's talking to their dead parent or whoever it is will believe that person is now living forever.
Isn't that, again, I'm going to be the old man, get off my lawn. Isn't that extremely dangerous? Don't you think?
Probably, but you're missing one big factor.
Well, but let me expand on why I think it's dangerous, because I got to be honest. I think there's cool elements of AI. I am freaking terrified of AI.
Yep.
And it's not just
Rightfully
because,
so.
and it's not just because what's real and what's not anymore. But I think the road that we're heading down with AI, in which, I mean, employers are using it on a daily basis to whatever, for hiring practices, and people within companies are using it to get work done, which is all great. All of that's great. But I think the more that we rely upon this type of technology, the more that the machine, I'm going to use air quotes, the machine is going to use that information against us. And I think we are heading down a path. It almost strikes me as, I don't know how to phrase it, but it strikes me as a dangerous path that we are heading down long term.
Oh, I totally agree. I mean, look at Hubbard, we have a sales team that sells commercials for our show, right? We get the best sales guys in the world. Well, hypothetically, you could take AI, go into someone's social media and say, hey, look at this person's social media. Do you think they'll be a success as a salesman? And AI's not going to guess. AI is going to calculate billions of things and say, you know what? I think this person would or wouldn't, right? And or maybe it's not just their social media, it's their grades, it's their everything that's encompassed out there on the internet about that person.
Sure.
And that's scary. But one thing that I think is interesting about this, and you'll love this, and I think many Democrats would love this too, is if you have an AI parent and they were collecting Social Security, but you made them an AI person, could you still collect their Social Security, right? I mean, just like Elon and our president said, hey, there's people that are 250 years old collecting Social Security. Well, now you could maybe make an argument. My parent lives on in AI.
Right.
They also need that $1,240 per month. Right.
Wow.
And I'm going to collect it for them.
Well, and I guess the reason, the danger aspect is I remember when, Facebook really took hold. And I remember this, so this has got to be 15, no, not quite. Yeah, 15 years ago. And, okay, I'm going to get a little bit morbid here, but bear with me. So I had a really good friend who sadly passed away. And I had known this girl since she was, we basically grew up together, right? And unfortunately, she had a health complication and she passed away. And I remember the first time that one of those, hey, 1 year ago you were, and I remember seeing her in a photo with me in a group of people, and I'm thinking, I'm going to see this forever. Her page is never going away.
Her page is never going away.
And all of her, and you know what? It's probably good because then her family gets to see that and relive some of those memories. So that part is essentially harmless. But I remember at that time seeing that photo of us in our hometown thinking, oh my God, like this is never going away.
Yeah, what if that photo would have said, what was her name?
Her name was Erin.
Erin. What if Erin would have said, hey, Reavers, remember when we took this photo? Remember when that video popped up?
That's exactly what I was thinking,
and it just was her voice. And remember when we took that photo? I miss you so much, Reavers. I hope you're doing well.
See, I couldn't handle that.
It would be it would blur the lines between actual living and death.
And that's the thing.
Is that good or bad?
I think that's bad.
Yeah.
Because, I don't know, and maybe I am in the absolute minority, but I think part of the grieving process is closure.
Sure.
Right? And I think you will always, memories are the one thing that you will always have. It's why I don't buy my kids gifts. I want to create memories with them. That's different. And I think those are the things you will always have. To remember that person.
But you said closure.
Man, we are getting heavy.
We are. This is very deep and philosophical. It's important. This is This is a conversation that's going to be important coming up. But you used the word closure. You said what's important is closure. The reason closure was important is because that's all we had. You didn't have an option to keep something else alive, and it may be too hard for people that are close to you. I mean, the lines of being alive or dead are going to be blurred, Reavers, whether we like it or not. In a couple of years, we are going to be having conversations with people that we may have known that are dead. It's going to happen.
Wow.
It's impossible that it wouldn't. AI is just too damn powerful, right? And
because I think this is different. I didn't mean to cut you off. I think this is way different than, remember when we started the hologram tours? So we would, and I don't know if this is a Vegas thing solely, but we would say, hey, it was the Michael Jackson or Tupac or whoever, right? And it sold a lot of tickets.
Yeah,
like, I wouldn't do that, but I get why there's a demand for that for someone that was a fan of that particular artist that never got the chance to see them and says, I'd love to go see that show just because I want to relive all those great moments that I had listening to that type of music. Like, I get that, but this is, I think, a completely different animal.
So I think we should set up an interview. You know that I'm a history nut, right? A little bit of World War II history, and I'm reading the Winston Churchill 6-book anthology of World War II, right? And I think we should set up an interview with Winston Churchill. And we should get an AI Winston Churchill, and we should say, because all of that data in those books is in AI form. And how interesting would that be to have Winston Churchill's voice?
Be a hell of a get.
It would be, I mean, think of that.
You're right. No, you're right.
I'm not thinking of 7 years from now. I'm thinking if you and I did 2 seconds of digging online, we could find the Winston Churchill interview AI app, right?
Yeah.
Or Madonna, not Madonna, I'm trying to think of Natalie Wood, or who's the woman, the blonde with the skirt that blew up over the air
Marilyn
vent?
Monroe.
Marilyn Monroe. People would want to interview those people.
Blonde
Right?
with the skirt that blew over.
My brain, I heard a great, maybe you even told me this. This is how great my brain is. I figured out how my brain works, Reavers.
Okay.
My brain is an iceberg, and on the iceberg are a bunch of dopey penguins, right?
Okay.
And they're sitting there, and I get some new knowledge, and that is represented by a penguin jumping onto the iceberg. And what happens
is
when another one has to fall off
and get eaten by a whale?
So my memory is what happened to me 11 minutes ago, or something great about not being able to spell automobile. But then every time I get something new, something else has to break off.
Oh, my God, you're the best. His name is Mike Fredoloni. My name is Chris Reavers. This is the Weekly Scramble Podcast, and we will be right back. All right, now you really got me thinking, because as you were going through the AI paradigm, I kept writing notes.
Sure.
And so one of the things that I like to do is I like to send. So my son has an Apple Watch that I can text to him, and so he has 2 different numbers because he had 2 Apple. There's a long story,
sure.
But I send text to the other one that doesn't receive it, just so I remember to show stuff to him.
Sure.
Right? Okay. So one of the things that I showed him, I think it was yesterday morning, was this video of people out on the water in, I think it was like Central California, over Memorial Day weekend. And it was kind of rough seas, but they were just fishing or whatever. And this massive shark came up to the boat because they were probably catching what do they fish for out in California, whatever it is.
Mackerel or
but
something.
they were hauling in what looked to be a sizable fish.
Okay.
And obviously the shark says, no, that's my lunch. That's not your eating. And it came right, and they had a good sized boat. I mean, it wasn't a small pontoon.
It wasn't a
that you buy at LeCans Marine, but it was
a tiny dinghy, is what you're saying.
Correct. It was a good sized fishing boat because you would need that to fish out on the ocean. Sure. And I kept looking at it going, is this real or not? Is that because it looked? I mean, it looked. Because you saw the shaking camera. Because that's what I always say, is the camera shaking?
Okay.
Because if it's a still camera, then it's fake.
Sure.
If it's a crystal clear,
if it's too good,
still camera, then it's completely fake.
Or if it's so bad, then it's fake too. Like where it's so bad, you're like, why wouldn't they have taken a picture of the alien with a camera that was clear?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, why is Bigfoot blurry again?
Yeah, so every time.
Okay.
He's not running that fast.
But this one, it was shaky enough, and you could hear trepidation in the people that were on the boat. So it felt real. So then I had to look it up, and it turns out it might have very well been real because it wasn't debunked anywhere. So that's why I was thinking when you were talking about all this AI generated content. But again, I was telling Joe about this. Okay, I'm going to really digress here. Because I was telling Joe about this very thing a couple of weeks ago. And I was telling him about, it's not even somebody that I know. It's somebody that I discovered who has essentially created all of these accounts using AI generated people.
Sure.
And he's printing money.
Yeah.
He's printing money. And Joe, it's way over his head. It's over my head.
It's over a lot of people's head.
And I kind of get why it's working. And I'm thinking, this is what we are going to have to endure forever. I mean, forever. That's what we're going to have to endure.
You know, I didn't see the video that you had, but when I was out in the boat one time out in the ocean, I had a similar feeling, right? I saw this mermaid, and she was swimming around. And this mermaid she was wearing seashells for a bra.
Wait, so you were you out in Florida? Were you out?
Yeah, I was out on the West Coast.
Oh, you were on the West Coast.
Yeah, so this was a West Coast girl.
I got you.
And I said to her, "Why are you wearing seashells as a bra?" And you know what she said?
No.
Well, A shells are too small and D shells are too big. Do you like how I worked that joke in to match your story?
I love the fact that you were always thinking.
We didn't prep that.
Not at all.
We didn't even talk about that.
We never do show prep.
No, but that was really, really, that worked out just perfectly.
Well, and I think what's funny about just all of that. So think about Mike, and that's the thing, because I'm always, you know me, I'm the most paranoid person that roams
when it comes to your
amongst us.
family. Yes.
Well, especially when it comes to my kids, especially that. So it's always, I think, okay, here's where we're at now.
Yeah.
Where the bleep are we going to be in, let's just say, 5 years?
I mean, what about 5 months, Ravers? I mean, you don't even have to go that far out.
Because this just in, I don't know if you know this or not, but there's people that roam amongst us that may or may not have the best intentions when it comes to mankind or to the well-being of your fellow neighbors and whatnot. And that's the part that is the predatory aspect of, okay, what are you up to? You know, like I remember specifically saying this when the drone craze started, you know, and I said, okay, well, all it's going to take is for the perverts to get a handle of these drones and then it's all over, right? And I was actually watching something the other day about air travel, right? So how concerned portions of the FAA are about air travel as it relates to drones, because there's a lot of the bad guys out there that can disrupt air travel or are going to use drones for nefarious purposes. And I'm thinking, okay, that's all it's going to take. So there was also, I can't remember the name of the company, and I wish I did, but I was watching this piece, and it was basically about how, well, we now have the ability to regulate a certain section by, it's basically like you'd get the invisible fence for your dog, right? So it's almost that type of technology, except we're talking hundreds and thousands of acres where we can set up this
knock this stuff out, knock drones
whatever,
out of the sky,
and we can say, okay, we're monitoring everything from ground level to 60,000 feet in the air, or whatever it is, right? And they can say, well, we know that, okay, that drone's safe because it's registered to Timmy Johnson down the road.
And that's an Amazon drone.
Yeah, and he's just trying to get a picture of his dad's lake that's in the backyard or whatever. So they can tell, and then it's these, when it's an unidentified drone, they can disable it.
Oh, really?
Meaning it'll just
fall to the sky.
It'll not crash to the ground, but it will just go and it will go to the ground and it will just become disabled, right? So
or just fall to the ground and blow up.
So I'm watching this piece and I'm thinking, how the hell did we get here?
Yeah.
Like it's just it's mind-boggling to me.
Well, you had made like people who have bad intentions, right?
Yep.
And AI will help us figure that out. Maybe they'll say, oh, this person's doing all these things on their keyboard. When someone said, hey, there was a bombing in, Pakistan or whatever, and they wrote, good for them, and then hit the backspace 10 times, AI is going to say, oh, they started to type good for them and then hit their backspace 10 times. It's going to know all those details. Remember the movie?
Wait, explain that. I don't get that.
So you know how you don't have to actually post something on social media for AI to know what you were going to type. Because if you typed it and then hit, look, I'm going to delete that backspace, or delete, AI is going to be bright enough to say, oh, you had started to type it. Or you said in the background and your Alexa heard you, those guys deserve it. And AI is going to say, oh, he was talking about the bombing and he said those guys deserve it. And it's going to take all that data. It's going to know exactly what we think, right?
Sure.
Remember the movie Minority Report in 2002?
Yes.
We are there.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
We are there. And if you're forgetting the Minority Report, it was a Tom Cruise special where they had this computer program that told you when they thought someone was going to commit a crime.
Yep.
We are there right now.
Absolutely.
We are, and if we're not there, we're there in 3 months. Reavers, this was one of my favorite shows I've ever done with you. I love you. You're smart. You're kind. Everybody likes you. And I think you are the best.
Thank you, Michael. I appreciate that. You are the best as well. Please do us a favor, rate and review the show wherever you happen to be listening to the Weekly Scramble podcast. It helps other people find the show, and it really does help us out as well. And we appreciate each and every one of you and all of you Frat Packers. And if you haven't done so yet, friend Michael, friend me, and join the Frat Pack 5000 Facebook fan page and join in on the fun. His name is Mike Fratelloni. My name is Chris Reavers. Thank you so very much for listening to the show this week. We'll talk to you again next time. Until then, cheers.